So Carter, I just wanted to ask you before anything gets all going here and we start asking questions. What was it when what do you think about all day? What do you want to be when you grow up?
Man, when I grow up, I think back to what I wanted to be whenever I was growing up. I wanted to be a major league baseball player, and then I wanted to be a professional golfer. And truth be told, when I grow up, I would love nothing more than to be my son's caddy
There you
at the
go. There you
Masters.
go. There you go. And he's got and he's probably younger than you are. But anyway, all right. So let me ask you this: what motivates you to get up in the morning?
I said this to someone not 20 minutes before we got on this call. When I wake up every day at 2 o'clock in the morning on average, I get up and I work for my family. When I say my family, I mean my immediate family, son, daughter, wife. I also mean my epic family. I work for them and I love them and I appreciate them so much. It motivates me every single day. And I feel like I owe them so much. And I am highly motivated every single morning when I wake up and get out of bed.
Well, you're gonna grow old fast. I can just tell you that. But anyway, what the last thing I'd like to ask you, and we'll get on with the interview, is who's your favorite superhero? Mine is Thor. Believe it or not, I love Thor, and I like Iron Man because of the business side of it, right? But anyway, who's your favorite superhero?
My favorite superhero was Superman growing up. I remember the Superman movies with Christopher Reeves, right? And that was it always there was something about, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, right? It's that is my I guess my fake superhero, but I will throw in just real fast. My actual superhero is my wife because without her, I would not be the man I am today.
And you guys must have got married young.
I did. I mean, real young. I don't think it was legal whenever we were our age when we got married, right?
It's not legal now the way we look today, but
Look at me. I'm so young still.
all right, everybody, we're here with the great new podcast that we're doing, and the exception to the rule. We got a great guest with us today, and it's Carter Wilcoxson. And Carter's going to tell us a lot of cool things. Going to ask him a lot of cool questions. But the first thing I always say, Carter, before I start any of my videos, is "Show me the money." And
Yeah,
so,
baby, show me the money.
when I get to you, I'll cue you up, and you'll be able to do that. But the first thing we wanted to do was we want to talk about what I become a brand new admirer, because we were just looking around for some estate stuff, and we ran into Epic Services. And I'm gonna butcher everything, so I'm gonna let you give us a little 30 seconds thing on what it is about Epic that's so powerful, and why did it get my attention. Tell everybody a little bit about Epic if you could.
Yeah, I'll just give you the quick backstory. I started from the position of a personal experience that had happened to my family, my wife's family, where the family started fracturing, where aunts, uncles, brothers, nieces, nephews started fracturing. And I set out to solve this problem with one question in mind: why do estate plans fail? And I wanted to find out what it was that what made estate plans fail. And I fixed it and I solved it.
Well, and one of the things that I like about what you guys do is you make it rather simple. Yes.
We make it super simple. Obviously, we're leveraging technology, but the one thing that I was adamant about was ensuring that even though we leverage technology and we're dealing a lot of times with 55, 65, 75, 85-year-old clients, it's always a human component that is attached to a digital process.
Yeah, and one of the things I noticed, and you've got a lot of different things that you do, because it's more like an isolated product, right? It's something that where you have your comprehensive estate planning is a big part of that. You've got, you coordinate them with an attorney. You get the proper funding, all the retitling, everything they need to do. And the thing that I like about what you guys do is the ongoing documents right? That constantly people don't understand sometimes. If somebody dies, like, right, you got to change something, right? You got to change. Maybe you got to get notarized, or you got to fix something, or maybe you have, like we have. We got 2 new grandbabies on the way, right? And again, I know I'm a baby myself today, but that being said, we got 2 more on the way, and so that's going to be something that's going to change in our state, right? So we would add 2 more, whatever we want to do. Now, the other thing that I think that's powerful with what you guys are doing. Now, you don't call it estate planning. What do you call it?
Yeah. So a couple of things on that note there, and in that same vein, we developed a proprietary process we call our 90 and 90 formula. And what this is all about is getting 90% of their estate plan done in 90 minutes or less. But the reason why that other 10% is critically important is that we help to remove the hesitancy. When I did all my research, I found out that the reason why the mass affluent demographic have not gotten this done is because they feel like they have to know everything if they're going to go see some estate planning attorney. Well, we remove that hesitancy with saying, look, the other 10% of that one constant that's going to change for the rest of your life. And with our proprietary process in mind of what we call the estate plan portfolio, we are going to make sure that when and if and when changes occur, we will be there for you with a human component, with a dedicated onboarding specialist that gets all of those changes done in real time. So that is what helps our mass affluent clients working with our Epic advisors. It allows them to be able to get that work done and stops the procrastination that we discovered is why they haven't been getting this done. Not because they don't know they need to do it. They just don't know where to go.
Well, and I'm gonna let, this is where I'm gonna cue you up now. You got to say, show me the money, because that's what's real important. And that's what's always missing in the trust. So tell everybody, show me the money, and then tell them what you're talking about.
Show me the money.
All right.
It's all about funding your revocable living trust. That is a major component to the estate plan portfolio. See, we don't sell trust. We sell peace of mind. We sell an actual estate plan that's guaranteed to succeed, but you have to do the critical part of funding the revocable living trust within the estate plan portfolio.
Well, one of the things that over the 35 years I've been doing this, and again, I know I look a lot younger because what George is going to be doing for us this week today. But I tell people that one of the things that I've learned throughout the process is that a lot of times, I was talking to a family the other day, and I handed them their mom's estate, right? That I just pulled up online, and they said to me, "How'd you get that?" I said, "Well, your mom had a will; it's public." And they were taken back, right? It wasn't that I did anything wrong. They wanted me to find it. They didn't think I could, and I said, "There it is." And I said, sometimes, the misnomer with a trust sometimes, and I do believe it's right to a point, but you don't have to have millions of dollars necessarily, but you might have some things that you want to keep private, right? And so that makes it a little bit different. Obviously, if you don't have anything to fund the trust, you might want to reconsider getting a trust. You can't fund it, you shouldn't get it, right? But I think a lot of people that have maybe $700,000, $3 million, that kind of stuff, they sometimes don't think that that's enough. But wouldn't you say that probably is? And wouldn't you agree that if they can't fund it, they probably shouldn't have one? Yes?
Yeah, it's the biggest misnomer, misunderstanding. And what we really set out was to help to demystify for what we call the mass affluent demographic, that a lot of our Epic advisors, within those local communities, that they're, delivering what we call the 3 E's, where they educate, enlighten, and empower the mass affluent demographic. And I categorize that between 500,000 and 5 million. It is the most underserved demographic in America today. Epic advisors become the hero of the story of a demographic that needs this. And yeah, if you can't fund the trust, and obviously you don't really have any assets, and that's too bad, obviously. But for those that really need to understand that a will is not enough, the privacy and the control is more critically important for those households that want to make sure that they have a successful estate plan when they're no longer here. We address that.
Well, and the reason why I brought that up was because that to me shows a lot about your company, right? And there'll be a time, and there are not very many, because the people that come to us are the people that need us in most cases. But I like the fact that you give us the freedom to be able, and your attorneys would do the same, to say, listen, this won't fit, right? And that's what people need to understand. This isn't remember the old days, they had the cookie cutter, stamp them, put them out, everybody had the same thing, right? And they didn't have the philosophy that you guys have. And one of the things I like about what you guys do is that you intentionally built, right, what we call the EPIC, and tell them what this is about, an ecosystem instead of a product platform, correct?
That's exactly right. So the biggest challenge that this entire industry has had in the IMO, FMO, BGA space that I've been in for the better part of 2 decades, and you as well, Liam, is, okay, well, we've got this subject matter. How do we deliver it? How do we convert? How do we, message it to the right audience? Epic is really, first and foremost, a marketing and branding and prospecting organization that, with intentionality, helps advisors look bigger than they are to win their ideal clients within this entire ecosystem that I've built out over the last 8 years.
Yeah, and now let's take it a step further. Who is the Epic system really built for? Families or advisors? And how do you serve both of them effectively?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we are the most innovative B to B to C company in America today, the fastest growing company in America today, B to B to C. So we first have to educate, enlighten, and empower, independent financial advisors and insurance agents, those who I've been working with for, again, the better part of 2 decades, that then take our go-to-market strategies and help to educate, enlighten, and empower a room full of people that we average triple-digit registrations for, and they don't have to do hardly any work at all. They just have to be coachable and trainable. And then ultimately, one of the biggest things that we brought to the marketplace is something we call Epic University. That by the time you come out of there, you understand your role and you understand the opportunity that this subject matter presents itself to help you ultimately not only help yourself, but also the households that you want to serve in the communities that you live within.
Now, one of the things too that you guys emphasize, education before action, and why is it such a core belief that a major player in your thinking, that education before action?
Well, education fuels everything. If you don't educate the people to understand and connect with them, then you're never going to get a chance to get money in motion. You're never going to get a chance to become, a personal CFO of what we try to ultimately do. And really, at the end of the day, without the education, you won't be able to get those, what we call 4A clients. What are the 4As? You want to have clients that have the right attitude, with the right aptitude, who have the proper amount of assets, who can become an advocate for you. But if you don't educate them first, you'll never be able to have the 4A clients that we help to cultivate.
Well, and I think, one of the great things the ways you do that, and you don't know this, I'm getting ready to tell you, I just got called from, I go to Texas quite a bit, and I just got a call from Kerrville. I'll be in Kerrville on the 3rd week of March doing one of your seminars live. And so that's part of the education process too, is the interaction with people, not all the time like this, but in person. Yes.
Well, 95% of our Epic advisors are delivering, one-to-many educational events at educational venues, libraries, community centers, and the such. And what it does is it draws in a more attractive client. But the reason why we're so successful is, again, going back to the intentionality that we have to elicit the confidence of a stranger. Because remember, we're talking stranger marketing here. Strangers don't know you at all. You have to at least give, the saying, perception is reality. Well, we give the perception that every single Epic advisor, and this is all required training through Epic University, the perception is that they are pillars of the community that compel strangers to want to sign up and come learn from them.
Well, when you talk about, what I've done, when I started my career, it's always been seminars day one. I've done it so many times, and people say that, why do you do seminars? And I'll be honest with you, it's because the older you get, the more you realize you don't have as much time as you think, right? And so I can reach a lot more people in that span of 50 minutes or whatever we're doing, right? And usually we're getting 70 to 150 people in a meeting, and that's a lot of people that you can see in an hour that you can take care and get your message out, right? I mean, I tell people, go to a mega church, right? They get their message out to a lot of people, right? And you can't help but get excited when you're at a mega church, right? But you can have the same thing with a smaller church. But I'm just saying there's a difference with having a crowd that's coming and they're all like-minded, and that's what's coming to the Epic seminars and those things. But the biggest thing I guess I would ask you is, what are the real consequences when your estate planning is handled? When a lot of people do it in pieces instead of a coordinated approach. Give us why you don't like that, and there's a consequence behind that.
Yeah, well, the consequence anytime when you have fragmentation is you don't have cohesiveness. And we wanted to ensure that it was an entire, you used the word earlier, Liam, ecosystem. We built the ecosystem to work within itself for the benefit of not only the advisors that work with us, what we call our Epic advisors, but also the households. And this again goes back to the education first and foremost, where we ultimately help these households to empower themselves to get their affairs in order, get their ducks in a row, whatever it is that you want to call it. But you have to deliver the information to them in a very meaningful way. But the subject matter in and of itself attracts people who care about what happens to them when they're no longer here. And it's a huge opportunity for anybody that's listening to this.
Well, and I think the biggest mistake people make when they're doing financial planning sometimes, or they're doing, again, maybe they're just doing it all fits together. I can't get over how many people that I'll be doing, maybe we're doing a Roth IRA or something. And then I just ask them a simple question. Do you have your trust and your will in order? No, we don't. We maybe need to stop here because I get it. You have beneficiary, you have TOD, you have POD, and all those things. And you're a big fan of Phil Graham, like I am, and I'm going to do this. I wrote the book on the beneficial liquidity plan, and this is a big part of what you guys talk about as well. And one of the things I find out when you're talking finances, you're talking trust. There's a lot of times there's cash that's needed that's not there. Yes.
Yes, 100%. And I am a big fan of BLP, so much of a fan that Phil Graham and I, we partnered up 7 years ago. It is an integral part of every single process whenever these clients go through it. It's not just an afterthought. The BLP is front and center as the actual final piece to every successful estate plan. This, again, goes back to the education. You have to educate these people to understand. You have to tell them things that they don't know, and they make these false assumptions on. I say it all the time, Liam. We are in the knowledge for profit business. The BLP gives that ability to be able to be in that knowledge for profit business and educate those clients on what happens when you're not thinking about the inevitable, right? Estate settlement is key to successful estate planning.
Yeah, and those of you that are just catching in here, the BLP, the simplest way to explain it, I tell people all the time, it's just I ask people four simple words. Let's talk about it, right? And they say, what do you mean? So let's talk about what you have set up for you when you die. Do you have your funeral paid for? Well, yeah, I do. Do you have your plot? Yes, I do. What if you die out of state? You realize that TOD, POD, and prepaid funeral don't pay for that. My sister died in Michigan, and it cost us $7,500 to bring her home, and she had a prepaid funeral, right? And so I always call it the rich uncle. Well, I was the rich brother. I had to bring her home, and so and I'm okay with that, right? But I talked to a lady one time that was in Taipei, and she had $3.5 million estate. We had the trust and everything, and I said, you're probably going to need about $100,000 in a BLP, beneficial liquidity plan, to have liquid and ready for your family, just so before everything gets settled. And she couldn't figure out, she said, well, where's the numbers coming from? I said, well, you said you have your plot paid for. She said, yes. I go, do you have a casket? No. Do you have the funeral? No. There's 15. I said, you have a house. You're going to give it to your son. He's an engineer. Your daughter, she's down in Tennessee. Your son's in Seattle. Long story short, he's not going to take that house and sell it, Carter. He's going to fix it up. Well, there's 40 grand because he's going to make money. Well, now we're at 55. She goes to Taipei twice a year. It's 60 grand to bury her in Taipei. She don't want to do that. 20 grand to come back. So she says, stop. I get it. I'll put a CD and I'll have it ready into the BLP, and we made it happen. But I tell people that when you're doing these estate things, you have to tell people that as great as you think everything is, you got to make sure that every window's closed and every door's shut, right? And a lot of times there's that one hole where people can't get a hold of cash. Oh, I'll just get it later. Sometimes it takes 6 to 8 months to get a life insurance to pay out. They can take over a year to two to pay out a 401k or a stock account. And if you don't have cash on hand, you got a problem. Yes?
Yeah, you do. And I got to tell you, the beneficiary liquidity plan, as far as I'm concerned, is the most beneficial solution for beneficiaries, hence the beneficiary liquidity plan, that's ever been designed. And the one thing that I tell advisors when you're explaining this, simplistically speaking, is you're not selling anything, right? Whether it's moving money from pocket A to pocket B. Here's really all you're doing, Liam. All you're doing is accelerating the money that they're already going to get. That's it. It's just that simple.
And that rolls me right into another question. That's why, again, you coordination matters more than documents sometimes. Yes.
Yeah, you've got to have everything coordinated. You have to understand. And again, this is why I asked the question. Whenever I saw the family fraction within my own family, before I even knew the phrase estate planning, once I got down this path, I just was like, why do estate plans fail? The beneficiary liquidity plan solves that. People, as you know, the saying, they're rolling over in their graves right now. Well, that saying happens because people are ignorant. They're not dumb. They're just ignorant. They just don't know what they don't know. So we wanted to make sure we had the most comprehensive estate plan that was going to succeed without exception.
Well, and what I like about you're not only getting, the name beneficiaries, the TODs, the PODs, you're getting the trust in the house, you're getting the funding done, but you got the bag of cash over here that's needed to make all this stuff go even smoother. And that's the whole thing. Transition, the word that, a lot of seniors use and a lot of parents use isn't smooth. They use burden. I don't want to be a burden to my family. Well, I like smooth a little bit better, a little more palatable, right? But that's what we're doing, is making the transition a little bit smoother. Yes. And one of the things that I want to jump in, we got a little bit more time for some more questions. I got bonus questions.
Okay.
So, how is this different than LegalZoom?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like, what is the difference between this apple and this orange? We're both estate planning solutions. That's where the comparisons end, right? What we wanted to make sure, and this is what differentiates Epic. Forget about the legal aspect of it. If you don't have the necessary knowledge and resources to be able to address this with your ideal clients, it won't matter what system you're using. And this is so much more than just software. This is about having a comprehensive plan, and we will put our plan up against anybody. And I don't care if it's LegalZoom, I don't care if it's Trust and Will, I don't care if it's vanilla. It is without comparison, and I welcome anybody to try to combat me, and I'll put mine up against yours. But it is definitely, there's the similarities end with the fact that we're just talking about documentation. It's way more than that.
And this rolls into another perfect question. How does Epic help advisors stand out without becoming lawyers? Because they got to be careful that they're not practicing law, right?
Yeah, this is one of the key components. When I first started out going down this path, I saw the opportunity. There's a statistic that I read from the Wealth Council, a very well-known publication, that 83% of Americans do not have their affairs in order with advanced medical directives, wills, trust, all of it. 83% of America. That's a huge blue ocean opportunity. Well, when I started going down this path, a lot of the pushback that I got initially was, well, what about unauthorized practice of law? What about unauthorized practice of law? So by design, every single one of the households that the relationship manager, and that's all that an Epic advisor is, they have a dedicated onboarding specialist, paralegal, and an attorney that does all of the customization 100% of the time. The only thing that an Epic advisor does is facilitate and connects people. But that is one of the things that I wanted to make sure that I concretely put together, the elimination of any fear, which freezes advisors to address estate. When you hear estate planning in the first place, you automatically think legal, right? Well, you might as well tie in the attorney that's part of every single plan that we create.
Well, and one of the things I think that makes that powerful is that a lot of times you can get a lot of the legwork done, so the attorney can get to work and get all the things, all the things put together. A lot of times that's what happens. I think when you're not doing it the way you're doing it, and what is the thing you can't get back in life? There's two things: people and time. Right, those are two things you never get back, and we got to treat both of those wisely. And I think when you're trying to do estate planning, this is the truth. When I was in Kerrville, Texas, 6 months ago, I go there every 3 months. That's where I'm going to be the third week and Thursday. They got 150 people coming to see me. It's really cool. They called me and said, "Hey, we want you to come back. This time we're going to have the house packed." I'm like, "That's wonderful. That's great." But the lady who got me there, believe it or not, she was at a seminar before this. Her and her brother both. And I said, "Listen, if you do anything," because they were taking care of their mom, she was in hospice. I said, "Make sure you get TOD done on your mom's house. You're not going to have time for anything else." Well, not only does the mom die, the brother died.
Wow.
Within 3 days of me leaving, but they had went down and got everything taken care of. And just for kicks and giggles, he was older. He had nobody, so he put everything in her name and his estate. Within 3 days of listening to what I said. Now that doesn't always happen, right?
Yeah.
But I was like, man, and so she's like, "You got to talk to my friends." I said, "Well, I got to get them to listen," And so it just goes to show you that, I tell people all the time, we're in a business that, sure, it can be lucrative in some instances. I get it, but that's not why I do it. I do it so I can make other people's lives better, right? And all the other stuff is just gravy as far as I'm concerned. Writing the books and doing the lectures and having all that, that's all fun and games. But what we do is a serious thing that we do. And I want to share a couple more things with you, and then we'll wrap this thing up. But one of the other things I thought was pretty cool with one of the things that you guys do is that, maybe if there's an advisor watching today, okay, let me ask you this question. What role should they play in the estate planning today? What is, other than what I did in that instant by just giving somebody a nugget, right? What role should they play?
This cannot be understated, right? And I can't state this enough. We want to help these advisors become the hero of the client's story. We want to be able to allow them to be the relationship manager and allow our outsourced estate planning team that basically becomes their in-house estate planning solution. Keep your aces in your places, as they say. That's the role that a trusted advisor needs to play. And by addressing it up front, saying it's impossible, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, for me to know everything. That's why I had surround myself with a team of specialists. But I will be your point of contact through this entire process and in perpetuity, right? If you allow me to. So the role they play, as far as I'm concerned, is hero.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we don't use hero enough, and sometimes we use it too much. But with what we do, I believe you hit it right on the head. I want to finish with two things. One of them I want to finish with is what changes when a client actually understands their plan. What is it that they finally get?
Well, when they finally get their plan, the biggest thing that they get is relief, right? I mentioned this earlier when we were talking. This is not something that people don't know they need to address. It's just they just don't know where to go. And one of the things that I discovered early on is, and we train this, right? By a show of hands, as you're asking the audience, raise your hand if you like working with attorneys. We already know no one wants to work with an attorney because that usually means time, pain, it's complex and whatever. It's usually not a good thing, right? So what we wanted to make sure is that we helped the advisor again become that hero. And this is what allows them to be able to do that is by simply having a team of specialists that surround them. And then they don't have to worry about anything on the back end, but the peace of mind they deliver, that is the relief. And the peace of mind is the biggest key component and why they win what I call the relationship war over others who don't address this for them.
Well, I always tell people that, it's ironic to me that, you can spell peace two different ways, right? PIEC and PAC. This is PEAC because you have a sense of comfort, a sense of understanding, and you feel that everything's going to be okay, right? I tell people, I think the numbers on long-term care, I think it's like 80% of the people who have long-term care never use it. And then 100% of people who don't have it need it. So that would be your explanation of peace of mind, right? I hope when I used to, and I was one of the best guys at Bankers Life. We did a ton of long-term care, and I got all these awards and stuff and all these great things. And I tell people that I didn't sell it so people would use it. I sold it so they wouldn't have to use it, right? And I tell people all the time, it's amazing. We grew up on sleep insurance, right? You can sleep at night. You ain't got to look at your stock account every day. And so we grew up on that. We teach that. But the thing I want to finish with, and it really stuck out to me, and I want you to repeat it. You've already talked about it, but I want to do it one more time. I really like the 90-90. Tell us that one more time as we close out.
Yeah, the 90 and 90 formula, where we get 90% of someone's estate plan done in 90 minutes or less. When we say this to clients as they're going through the process, they inevitably go, what about the other 10%? Well, I'm glad you asked. The other 10%, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, is the one constant that you, me, if we're delivering this to a room full of people, everybody in this room is going to have to deal with for the rest of their lives. And that is called change. Well, the beauty of our platform and our system and our process is that when those changes occur, we will be there for you every step along the way in real time to make any edits, updates, and changes for the rest of your life for a one-time flat fee for your entire life.
That's what I like about it the most is you don't nickel and dime them for the rest of the time that they're your clients. And I think that says enough right there, powerful right there, what it says. Carter, we could talk forever. And me, I could, a lot of times, that's why let people want to control the mute button on the other side. But, one thing I would like to say, if there are some agents listening, how can they reach out to you if they want to become a part of Epic? What could they do? How do they find Carter Wilcoxson?
Yeah, well, you can obviously find me on
Wilcoxson. I said it wrong.
Wilcoxson. Yeah, that's okay. My name's been chopped up my entire life. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Carter Wilcoxson. You can find me at Epic Services Company, Carter at epicservicescompany.com. You can always be able to find us on Facebook, Instagram. We do a lot of posting, not only through our business page, but also, I actually post, just so you know, Liam, I post every single day, a minimum of once a day on LinkedIn. That's the optimal place to find me, is connect with me on LinkedIn, Carter Wilcoxson, Wilcoxson.
Yeah, and I know George is going to put a lot of ticker tape stuff underneath here as well. And we have people that watch this. We've got over 10,000 agents that'll see this, probably more than that. We have lots of people that we put this out on YouTube that are just client type people, prospect people that are looking for this type of stuff, and they can reach me as well. And George will put how they can do that. But let's say that somebody saw this and they wanted to get involved. Obviously, again, they can reach out to me. But do you have anything that they can do as a consumer that would be, where could they go to get more information?
Yeah, well, if you're a consumer looking to get access to our estate plan portfolio, you can also be able to go to our website. You can go to our missions page. You can get on-demand educational event without you having to even, get into your car and go drive somewhere. We freely offer this education. We want you to be able to know and be able to go and get your affairs in order. Or we have many different Epic advisors all over the country that can also help you to get this facilitated as well.
And one of the great things is and I always tell people that if they don't know what to say or who to get, just say Liam sent you. You guys know who Liam is. We'll make sure we counter back to them and all that kind of stuff. Because like I said, I still do the seminars to this day. We got some, like I said, coming up, Mark. We got some coming up with you guys that we're going to be doing as well. That are going to be. We got Cincinnati coming up. We got Columbus, Ohio, Tampa Bay, Florida. We're going to be in Tampa, and then of course we're going to be in Texas. So that's one of the great things about what I do, because I work with so many advisors. I go to their hometowns and I help them, right? And I do the things that a lot of them, and in fairness, not everybody should be speaking in front of a crowd. But that being said, there's a lot of people that their work starts after the crowd and they get to them one-on-one and they do the things that you guys train them to do. And the last thing, I guess we didn't get to talk about this for agents too much, but you do have a training program that they can take and then they become certified to work for you guys. Yes?
Yeah, that was one of the greatest things that we put together. I took 8 years of failures and successes, not only from our team, but also from advisors, from our staff, from everybody, from, estate planning failures, all of those things. And I put it into something we call Epic University. When you buy our premium client acquisition kit, which we are your client acquisition solution to work with your ideal clients, you'll go through Epic University. It's required training, but it's also necessary. And it's something I'm very proud of. I tasked my team over the summer to put this whole thing together. It took months to put this whole thing together. And within 4 to 6 hours of this consolidated training that's required, when you come out of it, even if you don't do anything with estate planning, you'll have so much more information and education, more so than the general public. That's for sure. And if you're an advisor and you go through it, you'll definitely have an upper hand versus your competition.
Well, and like I said, Carter, I know that you're a busy guy. I know you laugh and say I'm just as busy, but I try my best not to be. I try to enjoy my golf, and I got to come out and play golf with you. You guys have good weather right now, better than we do anyway.
Yeah.
Being that you're out in Phoenix, yes.
That is correct. Yeah, I was actually just saying today to my chief marketing officer, shout out to Rosalie Perkins, that I feel bad for the rest of the country. We've got Chamber of Commerce weather here, and everybody else is digging out of the snow.
Do not be surprised if I'm not there next week hitting the links with you, because I told my wife I just need a reason to go.
It's an open invite, baby. Come on.
I'm telling you. But anyway, I appreciate you. I think that George is going to make this thing really, really work. So I appreciate everybody coming. This is our first episode. And of course, you guys, I hope you're having fun with it. It is, again, the exception to the rule. Plenty of explanation in life, but no excuses.